In 1922, a family living on an isolated farm in Germany began hearing footsteps in the attic at night. Then they discovered fresh footprints in the snow leading toward the house, but never leading away. Days later, everyone on the farm was dead. In the spring of 1922, the Gruber family lived alone on an isolated farm known as Hinterkaifeck in rural Germany. The nearest town was far away, surrounded only by forest and empty farmland. At first, life on the farm seemed ordinary, but weeks before the murders, strange things started happening. The family patriarch, Andreas Gruber, began hearing footsteps above the ceiling late at night, slow, heavy, moving through the attic. At first, he searched the house himself, but found nothing. Then another disturbing detail appeared, fresh footprints in the snow leading from the forest directly toward the farm, but there were no footprints leaving the property, as if someone had arrived and never left. Soon afterward, family members noticed objects inside the house mysteriously changing positions. Keys disappeared, unfamiliar newspapers appeared inside the home, and one maid reportedly quit suddenly after claiming the farm was haunted. Days later, a new maid arrived at Hinterkaifeck. It was her first night there, and also her last. On March 31st, neighbors became concerned after the family suddenly stopped appearing in town. When investigators finally entered the farm several days later, they discovered one of the most horrifying crime scenes in German history. Most of the victims were found inside the barn, lured there one by one before being murdered with a farming tool. The bodies were carefully stacked beneath hay, but the most disturbing discovery came later. Evidence suggested the killer remained inside the farmhouse for several days after the murders. Meals had been eaten, animals were fed, smoke continued rising from the chimney. Someone was still living there. Among the victims was the family's young daughter and the new maid who had arrived only hours earlier. Even more disturbing, the youngest child was found alive for several hours after the attack. Investigators later discovered clumps of the child's hair torn out nearby, suggesting she remained conscious beneath the bodies in complete darkness before dying. Police launched a massive investigation. Hundreds of suspects were questioned, neighbors, family members, travelers. But despite years of investigation, nobody was ever officially identified as the killer. Over time, theories spread everywhere: a family dispute, a wandering stranger, someone obsessed with the family. But one possibility disturbed investigators more than all the others: that whoever committed the murders may have secretly lived inside the attic, watching the family long before the killings began. To this day, the Hinterkaifeck murders remain unsolved, and the isolated farm where it happened no longer exists. It was demolished years later, as if someone wanted every trace of what happened there erased forever. Maybe the killer was simply hiding near the farm, waiting for the right moment. Maybe the strange sounds and footprints were only coincidences made terrifying afterward. But if that's true, who continued living inside the house after the murders, and why did nobody on the isolated farm notice they were no longer alone?